The Evolution of a Bad Boy, written by Susanna Thompson, narrated by Sarah Sampino. Chapter 19. Celeste didn't think it would last, especially not past high school. Something that burned that hot would surely burn out quickly. She kept expecting Dylan to go back to his old ways, but he seemed content with being her boyfriend. Her parents were glad when he moved to California after high school. They were sure that the relationship would end now that Dylan and Celeste would be on opposite ends of the country. Celeste was going to college in New York to study interior design. Dylan had wanted to move to either New York or California to pursue his music career. His mom decided on California because she wanted to live somewhere warm if she was going to move to another state. She sold her house in order to help her son go after his dream. "Please don't give up on us," Dylan pleaded with Celeste. "I don't want to, but I know long-distance relationships are tough. We'll never see each other." "We can see each other every day on Skype. We'll tell each other everything just like we do now," he assured her. "But we won't get to be together," she kissed him. "Not like this." "I know," he said. "That's going to be hard. I'll understand if you don't want to wait for me, but I don't want anyone else." She wanted to believe him. "You say that now, but you'll meet other girls out there." Celeste thought about all the beautiful girls that went out to Hollywood to become famous. "You'll meet other guys, too. We can't know for sure what will happen, but I don't want to give up on what we have without even trying to make it work. Please give it a chance," he implored her. She agreed, even though she didn't have much hope for their future. They did keep in touch over the internet and phone. He told her about the crappy little apartment he and his mom were now living in, and about the new band he had joined. She told him about college and adjusting to living in a dorm with a roommate. Celeste described the new friends she had made at school, and even mentioned the guys that had asked her out. She had told them that she had a boyfriend. Dylan was also honest about the new groupies he had attracted. He claimed he was remaining faithful to her. They had a lot to tell each other now that they were living separate lives, and they talked more than they had when they had sex to distract them. Dylan shared his doubts with her. He was worried that his mom had given up her comfortable life for nothing. "Maybe my dad was right. At least if I went to college, I would have something to show for it. I could have stayed home to play in dive bars and give free concerts at festivals." "You knew it wouldn't be easy," Celeste reminded him. "Don't give up so soon." "I don't care about me. I'm just worried about my mom never having enough money to retire because of me. I told her not to go with me, but she wouldn't listen." He had a glum expression as he looked out at her from his computer screen. "Hey," she soothed him. "Your mom will be okay. You're going through a rough patch right now." "I know," he sighed. "Corey's driving me so crazy I'm about ready to quit the band. Maybe I should have taken that offer to be in that boy band. It couldn't be much worse than this." Corey was their lead guitar player, and Dylan apparently couldn't stand him. They were having creative differences that they were unable to resolve. Celeste knew that he missed his old high school band, but the members had gone their separate ways. Besides being a drummer, Alex had an affinity for math. He had opted to go to college and attain a degree in a mathematical field. This information was courtesy of Lily, before she and Alex had broken up while away at different colleges. It was more proof of the difficulty of long-distance relationships, Celeste thought. Jenna was going to a community college close to home because her parents were overprotective and didn't want her living on her own with strangers. Celeste didn't know what Danny, the bass guitarist from Addicted, was doing. She still kept in touch with her best friends from high school. Olivia was studying business, and Lily was still undecided about her major. College had turned out to be as exciting for Olivia as she had imagined it would be. She had finally gotten over Andrew, and she had met her first boyfriend when she went away to school. Celeste guessed that not seeing Andrew every day had helped her move on with her life. Being away from Dylan was having the opposite effect on her. She missed him terribly, so she got a job to keep her busy while her friends were going on dates. Dylan had a job too, besides playing in a band. He was working at the same restaurant as his mom. It's not fancy like where she was working back home, so the tips aren't as good. He told her that everything was more expensive in California. At least I can ride my bike year-round with the great weather here. My dad's really pissed at me for selling my car, though. Corey ended up quitting the band, and Dylan somehow convinced Jenna to defy her parents and come out to California to be their new guitarist. She moved in with Dylan and his mom. This development put even more doubts in Celeste's mind about Dylan's fidelity to her. She believed him when he said that he and Jenna had never hooked up in the past, but they were now living under the same roof. Would they be able to resist temptation? If you don't know how important you are to me, then you know how important my music is to me. It's not easy to keep a band together anyway without complicating things even more. My mom put everything on the line for this, and Jenna's parents are ready to disown her. We're not going to mess everything up over something stupid. Jenna's face suddenly appeared on the screen, blocking out Dylan. Don't ever move in with him, Celeste. You won't want him either if you have to live with him. Get out of the way. I can't see Celeste from you, he complained. She couldn't see her, but she heard his mom speaking. These walls are so thin that we can hear each other fart in the next room. I would certainly know if they were having sex, unless my son doesn't know how to satisfy a woman. Mom, that's inappropriate even for you. Celeste was laughing so hard that she only heard what Dylan said next because he had raised his voice. You two, get the hell out of my room. It's the living room, Jenna said. That's because I have to sleep on the couch because you took my room. Celeste felt much better after her conversation with them. Dylan and Jenna acted too much like brother and sister to be having a sexual relationship. Her fears about groupies hadn't abated, but she had to trust him if their relationship was going to have any chance of surviving. I did all that in high school, he told her the next time they talked. You'll probably be tempted to cheat on me. Me? Why would you think that? Because you might want to find out what it's like to be with somebody else, he said. That thought had never crossed her mind. I won't, she promised. I just miss being with you. I have dreams about you, he confided. Really good dreams. I hope I don't talk in my sleep. He began to send her text messages about what he wanted to do to her. Reading them made her hot, and she responded with her own sexy thoughts. Was this what they had been reduced to? Sexting? It was a poor substitute for the real thing. Still, she wasn't interested in being with anyone else. She had to wonder, though, if they were holding on to false hopes. How long could they go on this way? Celeste made the difficult decision to spend Christmas vacation with Dylan instead of going home to see her parents. She paid for the trip herself with the money she earned from her job. When she saw his apartment, she was glad she had opted to spring for a hotel room. He hadn't been exaggerating about his cramped living conditions. She wondered if Jenna would come back after going home to visit her family. Dylan spent every night in the hotel room with Celeste while she was there. They hardly slept at all the first night, because they were insatiable for each other after so many months apart. They wouldn't get to be together like that again until the following summer, when Dylan came to visit her right before his band went on tour as the opening act for a famous band. Jenna had stuck it out with them, and they'd begun to attract real fans instead of just groupies. The tour built momentum for their career as more people heard them and liked them. They became famous enough to be the main act on their next tour. Dylan was making enough money to buy his mom a nice house in California. He and Celeste now stayed in fancy hotels when they visited each other. Her parents had finally accepted that he was part of her life. She continued working on her interior design career while Dylan lived out his rock star dreams. They had an unconventional relationship that worked for them. It helped that he could now afford to visit her more often when he wasn't away on tour or recording a new album. Celeste still had the CDs he had given her in high school. She could probably get quite a bit of money for them, but she would never want to sell them. They had been dating for 6 years when Dylan asked her to go on vacation to Greece with him. Jenna, who was now dating a guitarist from another band, complained that her parents were giving her a hard time because of them. "They're saying that I'm the one who should visit my family's homeland. I have no interest in my culture, blah, blah, blah." Celeste laughed. She and Jenna had become good friends over the years. "Why don't you come with us? I spend enough time with Dylan at work. It wouldn't be a vacation for me if he was there." "That's the kind of gratitude I get for letting her join my band," Dylan said. "Letting me? You begged me to come out here and save your ass," Jenna contradicted him. "She's right," Celeste interjected. "She saved your ass." "What is this?" Dylan jokingly demanded. "First you try to ruin my vacation by inviting her, then you take her side. Some girlfriend you are." "She's exactly the kind of girlfriend you need. Keep him in line, Celeste," Jenna urged her with glee. They flew first class to Greece and stayed a few days in Athens. Visiting the Acropolis was an amazing experience because they were seeing something that was built in ancient times. Their trip was wonderful and romantic because Dylan wasn't yet famous enough to draw attention outside of the U.S. Celeste enjoyed the modern city of Athens, but she fell in love with the island of Crete. That was where Dylan proposed to her one morning while they were taking in the gorgeous view of the Mediterranean Sea from their hotel balcony. "Marry me, Celeste." She turned to look at him and see if he was serious. "Are you really asking me to marry you?" "Yes," he said. "I don't have a ring for you yet, but you can pick out the one you want." She had never expected him to propose. "You've never even said that you love me." "I thought you knew that. You've always said that actions speak louder than words. Haven't I proven it with my actions?" He leaned in to speak into her ear in that sexy way that always turned her on. "Didn't I just get done proving it to you 10 minutes ago?" The low rumble of his voice caused a delicious shiver to run through her. That was sex, not love. After all this time, I'd say it's love. We can get sex from other people, but we only want each other. That's too strong of a connection to be just sex. He pulled her body against his and slipped his hand under her short nightgown to grip her bare bottom. "It's broad daylight," she protested weakly. "Nobody can see us. We're up too high." He kissed her neck. "So, will you?" She felt his arousal pressing against her through his boxer shorts, and it distracted her. "What?" He pulled back to look at her, but his hand moved to touch her between her legs. "Will you marry me?" "Yes," she cried out, in answer to both his question and to what his touch was doing to her. He picked her up and carried her back inside to the bed. "Did I ever tell you how much I like your decisiveness?" He was kissing her before she could answer. Her passion for Dylan had led her down a different path than she had expected to follow in her life. He hadn't gotten down on one knee and professed his love for her, but he wanted to marry her. She was happy to share her life with him, and he basically told her the same thing later at breakfast. "Do you remember that bet we made in high school?" Dylan asked after the waiter brought their food. "Of course I do," Celeste said. "It's how we got together in the first place. What about it?" "I won." He smirked at her and waited for her to go off on him. "We agreed to call it off," she reminded him. "I still won," he insisted. She rolled her eyes. "Fine, you won. Does that satisfy your huge ego?" "I'd say you know how to satisfy more than my ego." He smiled wickedly as he touched her knee under the table. "Dylan," she hissed, "what has gotten into you?" "I guess honeymoons turn me on." He removed his hand from her knee, but continued to look at her in a sultry way. She took a sip of her coffee. "We're not on our honeymoon. That comes after the wedding." "This is the practice honeymoon, then. Just imagine how turned on I'll be for the real thing." He smiled and started to dig into his food. She loved that he still flirted with her and made an effort to seduce her. He was now a better, more mature version of the sexy Dylan she had known in high school. Celeste looked at her hot rock star fiancé. "You know what, Dylan? That's the best bet I ever made in my life." "I know," he said with a cocky grin. He leaned in to give her a sweet, tender kiss. Then he whispered in her ear, "I always knew I would win." This has been The Evolution of a Bad Boy, written by Susanna Thompson, narrated by Sarah Sampino. Copyright 2013 by Susanna Thompson. Production copyright by Susanna Thompson.